Foundation 45 is a 501c3 nonprofit that funds counseling services for mental health, addiction, and suicide survivors. In addition to providing services, it works to break the stigma surrounding these topics. Foundation 45 recognizes that musicians, artists, and creative types are often at a higher risk for issues with mental health and addiction. The organization's goal is to serve the Dallas-Fort Worth creative community by providing free, top-tier mental health and recovery services. You can learn more about Foundation 45 at foundation45.org. Foundation 45. Live fast, die old. I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York, I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast. So who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all grown up? Who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all for us? Yeah. This week on the Dallas Famous Podcast, we have Madison Raney. Madison is a dynamic concert and wedding photographer, and we delve into how she uses those two styles of work to complement each other. Madison is a true music fan, which not only led to her dream career, it also has led to a new project called Backing the Barricade, which is a focus on the fans' experience at shows, and spawned a new podcast that just launched called Beyond the Barricade, where she interviews the people who make shows happen about their fandom. Madison is a delight, and I know you'll dig this chat, so here she is. Hello, we are back at the Deep Ellum Community Center. We have the lovely Madison Raney. She's a photographer. She does weddings. She does concerts, big concerts. I just found out she's starting a podcast. Anyway, thanks for coming down.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, you were part of my show that I did, Music in Frames. Mm-hmm. That was your first show?
Yeah, that was such a fun experience. That was so cool.
Yeah, I still just sold something recently.
No way.
Yeah, it's been good. It was a really good show. Okay, so let's just start with the basic, because most guests I can kind of dig up information, but you're kind of a mystery. I will say your website's fantastic. I'll just start with that, because you're a photographer and you do two different things, but maybe you can start with this, but you say right on the website, you're going to do a wedding the way you would shoot a concert. Mm-hmm. Why don't you elaborate on that?
Thank you so much for the compliment on my website. I am very proud of it. My best friend is a graphic designer and website designer. Her name is Rebel Linya Creative. She created it because I was having the hardest time, because obviously concerts and weddings are two very different worlds. Mm-hmm. So fusing the two was a big job. She did a great job. But I kind of market myself. I am a concert and wedding photographer. I try to fuse the two worlds as best I can. And really, concerts are where I started my photography journey with, and then I kind of fell into weddings, and I utilize a lot of my concert photography and the way that I go about approaching a show into how I approach shooting weddings as well. And I talk a lot about that with clients whenever they are thinking about booking me. And you being a concert photographer yourself, you're very well aware of this, but we have to kind of be masters of looking for moments to happen. Mm-hmm. And being ready, because, you get the guitarist slinging his guitar around, or someone jumping off of something at shows. You have a split second, and if you miss it, you miss it. Mm-hmm. And so I talk a lot about that with my wedding clients, where I joke that I'm like a professional fly on the wall. And right. I basically spend the whole day just looking for those little moments that are happening and trying to capture them. So they are two worlds that I feel like on the surface level don't seem like they go together, but when you really sit down and think about it, it's kind of the same skill set you're carrying over. Yeah.
So I see how concert photography goes into the wedding. How does the wedding photography help you with your concert shooting?
I've definitely gotten a lot better at composition thanks to weddings, because I kind of had the candids down. Sure. Thanks to concerts and all of that, but having to compose an image and be a little more intentional with things, as in wedding days when you have the portrait sessions and ceremonies where you need to be a little more strategic about it. I think it's definitely trained my eye more so than just exclusively shooting concerts has,
I can see
and forced me to pay a little more attention to the composition of a photo.
Yeah. Okay, I could see that. Yeah, because like if you're just shooting concerts, like your whole mentality is like, I'm going to get what I get. And like you can crop it later, but sometimes like the composition's not like, perfect or whatever.
You only have so much control at a concert.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
kind of just, you get what you get. But
exactly.
it's forced me to, or it's not forced, but it's trained me to be a little more intentional with the way that I shoot.
Gotcha. All right, let's back up. Where are you from?
I am from, I'm from Coppell.
Okay.
I say Dallas to anyone who's not from Dallas,
sure.
but because no one knows what Coppell is, but from Coppell, grew up there, went to high school there, Dallas born and raised, and went to A&M for college. So moved to College Station for 4 years and then moved back and been here ever since.
Gotcha. And so young Madison, like I'm assuming music came before photography in your life?
Yes.
Okay. How did music first hit you?
Yeah. So high school was really the years in my life where I kind of developed my music taste and really dove into becoming like a fan of music, more so than just like listening to music on the radio, to where I would like buy albums and like watch band interviews and like really became a fan. Was really big into the pop punk scene, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, My Chemical Romance, that whole early 2000s pop punk genre was really where I like started my music journey with. Still love them, still my favorite genre to listen to. But my first concert was Warped Tour, first festival, I guess, was Warped Tour.
You mean like attending?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. First time attending. And I was just like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then outside of Warped Tour, the first like show that I went to was All Time Low at the House of Blues. And I was a senior in high school. So I feel like I was a little later to developing my passion for music. But especially the All Time Low show, because it was like a more traditional, it was an actual concert, not a festival. Just the environment that concerts offer. I just was unaware of that world until that night. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be here as often as I can.
Right.
So loved that. I went to college, met my best friend, Jen, who we bonded over our shared taste in music. We ended up going to concerts like as often as we could. We were in a good spot where College Station is kind of an hour and a half from Austin, an hour and a half from Houston. So a lot of the times when the bands would come, we would go to both shows. Sometimes we'd go to Austin, Houston, and Dallas if they were playing all three. Fun. Yeah. So we spent a large portion of our college career driving to shows,
right,
and just trying to attend as many as possible. And then when I was in college, I was also part of a organization called Town Hall, and we were the ones that brought concerts to campus. So I got a little more involved in the actual production of shows, which gave me a little more of a glimpse into the industry, I guess you could say.
Were you that was something that you like after that first experience with a concert, you just were like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to find a way to be doing that?
Yes.
Okay. So you no camera yet at this point? Okay.
And I feel like most photographers are like, I've had a camera in my hand since I was 6 months old. That's not my story at all.
Yeah.
I bought a Canon Rebel T3i, as everyone did, in college, just because like I wanted a camera for my college years, with no intention of like really getting into photography. Shot on auto for years.
Right.
But and then when I was in that organization, Town Hall, I was kind of the only person with a semi-decent camera or something more than just my phone. So started kind of taking photos at shows just so we had something to post. And then realized I could get into concerts for free if I was photographing them for an actual outlet. So that's kind of how I tumbled into that world. And I kind of weaseled my way into the concert world.
Wow. Okay. So this is interesting. You're much younger than me, but it's sort of like I just sort of showed up at a show with a camera. Like I didn't grow up with a camera either. That's, yeah. Okay. And you never played anything. Nope. So this is, like your passion for music was so strong that I like that. Yeah, I'm such a fan of music, and that's really where it all stems from.
And we can talk about it a little later, but I've also started a new publication called Backing the Barricade, where it's focused on telling fan stories. But I think it really stems from just like, kind of like you said, my experience of, I am such a big music fan, and I just want to be in that world as much as humanly possible without being an actual musician.
Yeah.
And photography was kind of my outlet to do that.
Okay. So now you're in I'm sorry, what was the name of that group that you were in that did the concerts?
Town Hall.
So you're in Town Hall, and basically they're like, okay, there's a show tonight. Hey, it'd be cool to get photos. Why don't you bring your camera? Mm-hmm. That's just how it started.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we would need something to post on like Facebook, or if it was going to be in our college newspaper thing, you just need like a shot or two to have. So it just kind of started with that.
Do you remember your first one?
Oh, I don't, because it was some small Texas.
What was your first one that you were like, this is something I'm good at?
My first like real show that I got to shoot, it wasn't any of the college shows that I got to do, but I got to shoot the main in, I think it was Austin. I think it was at Emo's maybe. But that was the first one where I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And you get to go into the photo pit for the first time, and it was a band that I really loved. I was still shooting on auto. Most of the photos looking back are so trash. Yeah. At the time, I was like, this is so cool. These are the best photos I've ever taken at a show.
Oh yeah.
Which is not saying a lot, but that was the first time where I was like, oh man, I really want to do this. And that really sparked my passion for photography and like the desire to get better at it and learn my camera. And I was like, I could take this to where I could make this a bigger thing and make this something that I'm doing regularly.
Did other people say you're good, or did you notice that you were good first? Which came first?
Oh, I feel like I'm still very insecure about, as most creatives are.
As we all are.
Yeah, as most creatives are. So I definitely wouldn't say that I was like, oh, I'm good at this. I think I just got excited that I took shots that I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
And then, I had family and friends being like, oh, these are so sick. Like, we were at that show and it's so cool to see like the photos that you took. And, it just kind of starts out that way.
When you started, like, because like you didn't go to school or anything, obviously for a lot of us didn't. So it's not super rare, but was it like a product of like, I've just stared at so many like concert photos that I just know what I'm supposed to be trying to get? Yeah,
I think so.
Huh.
And like I said, I'm just such a fan of live music, and it's my favorite environment to be in. So, you get excited for the crowd interactions that the singer has, or whenever the drummer's like throwing a drumstick into the crowd. So I always kind of had a knack for like trying to look for those little moments that happen, because those are what got me really excited. And it was always my goal to get the photo of the moment. So that's how that started.
Yeah. No, interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, when I'm kind of like, if we're all in the pit, then I just want a shot that's different than everyone else.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, like if the guy like did something, or I got a different angle, I don't know. So, but yeah, it's the same thing though. It's like, I was like, that's a photo that I feel like someone else took of a different band. Like, can I do that?
Yeah,
anyway.
Absolutely.
So, okay, wait, let's go back. So now you're starting to work on the photography. What did that look like? Were you starting to shoot like everything, portraits? Like, what was your?
A little bit. So really, I wanted to get good at concert photography so bad. So that main show, the first one that I shot was in 2017, I believe. And I was graduating college. So I moved back to Dallas. I got a 9-to-5 marketing job that I hated, and I was like, I need a way out of this. So I was shooting every show that I could. It didn't matter if I knew the artist. I was applying for everything. I was like, the only way I'm going to get good at this is if I'm doing it a lot.
Yeah.
And then, I feel like this is semi-typical for photographers too, that pursue it as like a full-time gig, is I was like, well, I need to make money with this if I'm going to upgrade gear, and I can't keep just paying for parking at shows.
That money thing.
Yeah. The money thing gets in the way kind of, but, so then I started offering portrait sessions, and I did a little stint of, I would shoot everything. I found out really quickly, I don't like shooting families. I don't like shooting kids. Like I don't, I didn't really love the portrait aspect of it. And then I had a friend of mine who was also a photographer ask me to second shoot a wedding, because her original second shooter got sick, or there was some circumstance where she was like, I just need someone with a camera to join me, because it was like that weekend. And I was like, okay, I had no interest in shooting weddings, but we shot that first one. I was like, this is really fun. And it's kind of similar to concerts where I'm just like observing what's happening, 90% of the day.
Yeah. It's fun. I've done some weddings and I've been all right at it. And it didn't occur to me that that's why, because it's like, that's what's the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh, okay.
It's like I said, like you don't really think that concerts and weddings have that much in common, but at the end of the day, it's the same skill.
Yeah.
For the most part. Like
you probably
obviously
have better
weddings,
lighting at the weddings, probably.
Right.
Usually anyway.
Right. Well, obviously weddings are a little more involved as well, and it's a longer day, but I second shot that first wedding, and I was like, oh, like this isn't too bad. Like I kind of like this. And I was like, this is how I could actually make money. So then that kind of stumbled into my journey of becoming a wedding photographer, and I fell in love with that as well. And now I pretty much just stick to concerts and couples and weddings.
Yeah, that's a good blend. When you do your weddings, is it usually just you, or do you bring a second shooter to your stuff, or it just depends on how big it is?
It kind of depends. I typically have a second shooter. If nothing else, wedding days are just such long days and so demanding that I just, even if I don't feel like I need another person there shooting, it's nice to have someone to be like, hey, can you go find grandma because we're doing family photos and she wandered off, or can you go grab the bride's bouquet? So it's nice to have another person there.
Sure.
So most of them end up having a second shooter.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a better second shooter, but I'm too egotistical to be a second shooter anymore.
I joke a lot that I really enjoy second shooting almost more because I feel like I'm not the one that has to get these shots of the day. So you get to be a little more.
Yeah, there's less pressure.
Yeah,
sure.
You get to be creative, try some things because you're not the one responsible.
Let's just run through like maybe some fun stories. Like, is there like the craziest moment at a wedding, maybe, or like we're never going to pull this off and you did, or something like that?
Ooh, okay. So, I'll back up to college again. This is not, when I was in college, I thought I wanted to be an event planner. So I actually interned at a wedding venue as like more of just helping with like run the events sort of thing, which is funny that I ended up finding my way back to weddings. But I interned at a wedding venue in College Station, and I feel like most of my crazy stories are from that. I've been pretty lucky that as far as like my wedding photography journey has gone, I've had really great couples. I haven't had anything too crazy happen, but when I was working at the wedding venue in College Station, there was one wedding I shot where the groom got so drunk before the ceremony. During the ceremony, the best man was like physically holding him up.
Oh no.
And the ceremony finished, and then we were walking back through the actual venue because the ceremony was outside, and he tripped over something and fell onto the dessert table, and the cake came crashing down.
Oh no.
And then the bride,
of a movie.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then the bride goes, you know what, we're done, and sent everyone home, and the wedding was over.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Yep, there was no reception. Everyone went home. It was,
Wow.
Luckily I haven't shot anything like that, which
I wonder if they're
good.
still married.
It's a really good question.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, okay. So let's like back to your history. So you've like decided you want to do this. You've like kind of figured out some wedding stuff. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. Weddings are usually on a Saturday. Mm-hmm. So are a lot of big concerts. Mm-hmm. So how do you choose?
Yeah, it's kind of hard balancing both. However, I really enjoy doing both because I don't feel like I have to take on so many weddings that a lot of normal wedding photographers take on. As far as numbers go. But so my sweet spot for weddings is normally 15 to 20 a year. That gets me kind of to the amount of money I want to make to feel comfortable. And it's enough to where I feel like I stay busy, but I'm not overwhelmed, because I know wedding photographers that'll shoot 40 to 50 weddings a year, and I don't.
I mean, for how many years can you do that?
No, I do not. I could not. So, weddings are so interesting because they're obviously booked like a year in advance. Mm-hmm. Normally, like 9 to 12 months is normally when my couples are booking me. And then concerts, you're getting approvals like sometimes day of. Oh, God. Yeah. So I'm not put in a position where I have to choose super often. There have been, but obviously if I have a wedding booked, I have a wedding booked.
Right, okay, I see what you're saying. You're just going to go with your schedule.
With mostly. The wedding, yeah. But
like, let's say, okay, like what was your favorite band again, or one of them?
21 Pilots.
Okay, so if 21 Pilots is playing, and you already know that show's going to be on August 23rd, is that right? 24th?
September 6th and 7th, I think, is when
day
they're coming.
before my birthday.
Oh, yeah. When's your birthday?
The 8th.
My sister's birthday is September 8th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Very
funny.
good power. But okay, so let's say so it somehow they announced their tour a year ago, which they would never do that. But let's say that they did. And you're like, okay, so I could shoot them, or I've got a wedding getting offered to me now.
Oh no, I wouldn't take the wedding.
Okay.
So I basically, whatever I find out about first, I am
You block it
religious about my calendar.
Yeah.
Especially like the nature of weddings. It's so far in advance that like
You by the time you see the shows coming up, it's like I don't even have to think about it. I'm already booked.
Typically, yeah.
Actually, that's a relief too.
Yeah,
You know?
I've had circumstances where I just booked a wedding I just booked it last week and it's in October, so it's 3 months away, which is very rare, but it happens. But I have had inquiries where I'm like, there's a show, I'm not going to take a wedding because I'd rather be at the show. So
right.
Just depends.
Well, I'm getting married, so right now I'm kind of like, okay, which pays more? Like, I'm not going to unbook myself, but that it plays more into it than it did before I was trying to save. After the wedding,
for sure.
I probably will go back to like whatever's like the coolest, best thing for whatever.
Yeah,
but,
it's all balancing as far as you got to make money, but also you don't want to miss opportunities that aren't important to you.
So you're not this formula you've come up with yourself. You're not burning out on either concerts or weddings.
And that's why I really love having both, because I think if I solely did concerts or if I solely did weddings, I would burn out really quick. And I feel like my brain doesn't work when I'm doing too much of the same thing.
Sure.
So it's really nice to have two different worlds that I'm pretty well connected in.
They are far enough apart that it would keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a gap between well, actually, no. You're doing the weddings. What, like, you're shooting as many concerts as you can. How long were you shooting concerts before you're like, okay, yeah, I get the hang of this?
Ooh, I would say a good... Maybe so I started in 2017, really like actively shooting concerts, like as many as I could. And I feel like we got to like the 2020 mark and I was like, okay, like I felt good to where I stopped applying to like every show and I would only apply to shows that I like actually wanted to shoot.
Sure.
So I feel like 2 or 3 years, I like felt good. I felt like I knew what I was doing. I felt like I had some good experience.
Right. And then at what point did you meet Roman and Jamie, who are the Live Nation Dallas photographers?
I met them. It was pre-COVID. I feel like COVID marks like all of my time in my life. Now
I have like a thing of photo passes, and it was all before 2020, and it fits on one little like 11 by whatever. And now I have a stack that I don't even know what to do with. But it's all before 20. I know exactly what you're saying.
It's the marker that
line of demarcation.
Tell time with, but it was pre-2020, so I met them. I guess it must have been 2018. I think it was end of 2018, maybe beginning of 2019. And again, like the concert photographer world is, you kind of see the same people at shows over and over. So I had seen them before. But then, kind of started talking to them and developing a relationship with them. We love Roman and Jamie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say end of 2018.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I kept being like, "Hey, I'll shoot for you guys," and then you showed up. But it makes sense because I'm doing Observer. I feel like everybody just wants me to do it for the Observer. Like nobody wants me to do it for anybody else because they're like, well, they're the only ones that publicize it.
You got it.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's not a good way to make a living. Let's just put it that way.
I will say too, because they've had people like kind of come and go off of their team as well.
Sure.
And one of the things that they were asking me questions when I would shoot shows with them, and I didn't really realize that they were the house photographers at the time. And, we were just chatting, but I think they liked that was when I was going full time with photography. So they wanted someone who wasn't bound to like a 9-to-5 schedule.
Sure.
They also liked that I was younger.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it is. I'm an old fart. Okay. That's
but those were two factors that they kind of
sense.
liked.
They have to have more energy. You have to have more energy than them. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Like, not that they don't, but yeah, that's funny.
It's also kind of nice when they can dump, because they obviously do all the Live Nation venues in Dallas, or they did at the time. So, no one wants to do Dos Equis shows in August. So if, it worked out, they're like, hey, Madison, do you want to?
Right.
go do that. We'll be in air conditioning. But yeah, they're great.
Dos Equis. So my biggest issue with Dos Equis is because I don't shoot for them. So I can park in the free parking. And it's like the longest walk with all your gear.
Oh, yeah.
And usually you bring all your gear to that. It's like, you got all this like, you guys can't let us press. There's
just
like,
right there.
At the most, there's 5 or 6 of us.
Yeah.
But all right, whatever. I hope someone at Dos Equis is actually listening to this.
Also, the stage is 10 feet tall.
And the stage is 10 feet tall. Mike Brooks, who's 6 something, he has to reach up. It's crazy.
I'm pretty tall too. It's funny because Roman is.
Yeah, Roman is
not.
Well, it helps me that Roman's his height because like immediately I'm like, I can always bring a stool. Like it's not going to be a problem. And actually the Cure, I know I've told the story, but like it was just me and him, and like they had their setup. It was like higher than the 10-foot stage. And he's like, well, I'm like, I'll put my stool here. You're still there. We'll just switch. Like, and we did, and we got great shots, both of us. But yeah, I love working with Roman. Oh yeah, he's like such a pro.
He's so fun.
What was your first like big show, like the show that like I'm going in, I know what I'm doing, I've got my pass, holy shit, I'm in the pit for this band?
Because I feel like I want to say 21 Pilots, but I know that there was like one before that I was like, this is insane.
Right. My old drummer from LA had been Elton John's drum tech for 20 something years, so my first big show was Elton John, and we literally were having dinner, and he was like, you want to come to the show? I'm like, yeah. I'm a photographer. He's like, great. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, I'm a photographer. And I kept showing him photos through dinner, and by the end of dinner, he's like, fine, I'm going to get you a photo pass. So
that's insane.
And then I was like, am I ever going to get another one? Like, I didn't know, because I didn't feel like I earned it. I just kind of like snuck myself in, but yeah.
I feel like that's a lot of it, though. It's just like kind of who you know, and opportunities come up. That's the music industry for you.
Sure.
Okay, now I'm gonna say the big show that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm here, was 21 Pilots at Dickies. I believe that was Dickies like opening show too.
Oh, it could have been.
I think that was their first like concert that they had there. So, everyone's excited because it's a new venue. They're one of the few bands where I am still just like awestruck in their presence, just because like I just love them so much. So I remember walking into the pit, and I was like, I haven't been like nervous at a show in a while. And it wasn't so much like fangirling over them, but it was just like, I want to do so well. And like, this is my first like really big one that means a lot to me. So I would definitely say 21 Pilots was.
How did you feel you did on the shoot?
I did great.
Oh, good. Cool.
I got a lot of photos that I love. I still post them like once a month. I printed out one that I have hanging in my living room.
Cool. Did you when you were in the pit, did you at any moment just take your camera down and just like absorb that you were that? Yeah. I've done that there's a few bands, not many, but yeah.
There is, and I at the like kind of transition between song 1 and song 2, it kind of goes dark, and then like you have like kind of a hushed moment, and then they brought everything back up. But I just stood there and I was like, I only have 2 more songs left. Like, just like soak in the moment that you're in a photo pit for 21 Pilots. Like, that's insane.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. That actually leads us into what you were talking about, your other project you're starting, Backing the Barricade. Like, why don't you like kind of talk about that?
Yeah. So like I said, I just have such a passion for live music, and I am just such a fan of live music that one of my favorite things about shows, and kind of going back to college when I would go to multiple cities, a lot of people that are not big concert people would be like, isn't it the same show? Like, why would you do that? And I was like, no, because the crowd is different. The people you're around is different. How the artist interacts with the crowd is different. Like that. Honestly, the fans in the crowd are what make shows so magical and different. Yeah. And just throughout my life of going to so many different concerts, and obviously when you're like waiting in line to go into the venue or in between acts, especially when it's all GA, you get to talking to the people around you. And just, I've heard so many cool stories just organically that way of people who have met their spouses at a show or, traveled the country to go see their favorite artist, or just so many fun stories about fans' passion for music and things that have happened at shows that I was like, this is so cool. And it happened so often that I was like, I want this to exist somewhere for these stories to be told. And I feel like that's such a big part of the story of a concert, of live music. And it's not really I don't know. It's not really told anywhere.
It's not shared. Yeah, it's just something you talk to with your friends, and that's it.
Yeah. So I feel like that's a big part of the magic of live shows, and I just wanted somewhere for that to live. So me and my friend L'Oreal, we ended up starting it in October of last year. So October of 2023. I told her about the idea and she was like, yep, I love it. Let's do it. And I was like, okay. So we ended up flying to Miami to go to the 1975 concert. And because they didn't have a Dallas date, it was a very like kind of roundabout story, but they didn't have a Dallas date at the time because it was like around ACL. So they had to wait to announce it later on. So we bought tickets to go to the Miami show because I had a friend in Miami. So we were already going to it. We were like, that's a good one because their fan base is super passionate and like people dress up and everyone, like a lot of people have 1975 tattoos. So there'll be a lot to talk about. So we were like, yeah, that feels fun to like travel to like launch this. So we bought a $30 Spirit flight, went to Miami and I've said this multiple times to people when I'm just talking about it, but it was like a euphoric experience because we showed up with our cameras. We went, kind of mid-afternoon when the line was starting to form and we were like, all right, let's just go talk to people and see what happens. Mm-hmm. And we met two girls who like met at their show in Dublin because they were both going solo to the show and realized they were both American. And now they're like best friends and travel all the time. So many people had tattoos that they wanted to tell us about. Like, it was just such a perfect one to start with. And as soon as we talked to the first person in line, so many people are like, oh my gosh, we have a story. We have a story. Or like, let me show you my tattoo. And I got Maddie Healy's handwriting and let me tell you that story. Like, it was just so fun. And in the middle of it, me and L'Oreal looked at each other and we were like, this is going to work.
Yeah.
And
no, this sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, cause I'm just thinking of it in my perspective and like when I'm shooting shows and I'm like, well, this fan base is like this and this fan base is like, and it's like, it's the sub story of the show.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And it really does create the environment. And
yeah,
I feel like it's been very, I feel like Taylor Swift her fan base has done a good job of like showing just how like intense fans can get with like all of the different outfits and the friendship bracelets that like, it's a culture in itself.
Sure.
And I love getting to talk to people and share the stories around it.
So, okay. So then it's going to be, you said it's starting a podcast with it?
Yes.
Okay.
So Backing the Barricade is the, kind of parent, not business, I don't know, publication.
Yeah. The main, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So Backing the Barricade is the main portion of it where we're interviewing fans and sharing fan stories.
And this is showing up somewhere like videos?
It's on, yes. So we video record all of the interviews that we do with fans before shows and it's on TikTok, Instagram. Our website is kind of under construction right now, but it'll be on our website as well, which is just backingthebarricade.com. But in addition to that, we have now actually today are launching our podcast called Beyond the Barricade. And the idea with that podcast is to go to the other side of the barricade. We're talking to artists and music industry professionals about.
Okay, so you're going to go both directions.
Yeah, so we're trying to do the full sphere.
It's going to be an empire if you do it right.
I'm trying, man.
Seriously, that is really good idea.
But we're talking to them about their experience like growing up as a fan of music. So still staying true to the heart of Backing the Barricade.
I see. You're asking the people in the show the same questions you're asking the fans, not about themselves.
Exactly. Okay, so kind of interviewing them from the standpoint of like who they are fans of and who had big impacts on them and
wild.
It's
I liked
fun.
it. That was exciting. Okay, we're going to be looking out for that for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so you got that going on. You're still doing your weddings. You're still like, what's your next? Like, is 21 Pilots your next concert you're looking at? You have something before that?
Oh, let me look my schedule.
I know I'm shooting the Totally Tubular 80s show on Tuesday, which is going to be a whole bunch of bands that I was like sort of into in high school.
Roman and Jamie were talking about that show actually.
Yeah.
They're excited.
I'm good to see them. And then I think I'm doing AJR, but I'm waiting to hear back.
That's my husband's birthday is on Wednesday and we were going to go to AJR, but he doesn't want to do that for his birthday. So I was like, gotcha. All right. Well,
so I'm so dumb. I didn't even know who they were.
Yeah. They're great. They're really fun.
They sold out Dickies. I don't know where I mean, I'd live under a rock, I guess.
They put on a great show. I've seen them before. They'll be fantastic to photograph.
I've heard.
That'll be great.
I'm bummed though because I heard my friend was saying that they always go into the audience, but they're not going to do it when I have a camera out.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, nothing cool ever happens the first 3 songs. It's always later on.
You know who is cool about that? The Gorillaz, because they had like a whole bunch of guests at the end, and they like it was funny. Our publicist, she's like, you're going to want to stay to the end. You can shoot, you can shoot. Like, it was weird. We shot like 5 songs. Then we had to go take a break. Then we came back for like not the last songs, but it was weird, but it was cool. And we got to shoot so much of it.
I like that. I appreciate that they were looking out for the photographers.
Oh, yeah.
They were it was hey, still, something cool's going to happen.
Yeah, it was front of house, but still, I'm like, you're going to let us keep coming back. We're all good with
That's
you.
cool. Yeah.
You know.
No, I think 21 Pilots is my next big one. I've applied for Backing the Barricade to go do like fan content for Sad Summer in Chicago, which is in 2 weeks. We haven't heard back, so I'm not sure if that'll happen, but
it's a good name.
Yeah.
I've never heard of them either, but it's a cool name.
But yeah, 21 Pilots will be my next big one.
Yeah, cool. I might try to shoot I don't know.
You should.
You know, it just depends. You know what it is? It sort of depends. Like if there's someone, an observer that like loves a band, a photographer, I mean, and I don't, then I'm not going to.
That makes sense.
I'm not going to get in the way. But also, I like to shoot all the big shows I can. So it's sort of, you know.
They're another one. I am biased. They're my favorite band in the entire world. But
okay.
even people where I'm like, if you're not like a huge fan of their music, their live shows are still insane. Like they put on some of the.
But it's Dos Equis? No,
it's AAC.
Oh. Oh. Okay. Well, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that.
So you should.
And so I don't know. Is there anything else? I mean, that sounds like a lot. Is there anything we missed that you're doing?
No, I think that's it. Backing the Barricade and now the podcast Beyond the Barricade are kind of the 2 big new projects that I'm working on and trying to.
Do you ever shoot like smaller shows, like local bands and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not super often anymore, just because there's just a lot to juggle that I've kind of, kind of how we talked about earlier, I kind of have to pick and choose.
Sure.
So I've gotten a little more selective with concerts that I shoot, but like we were fortunate enough to have Granada ask us to come shoot or do fan content at the ex-Ambassadors show that they had.
Oh, cool.
Which is really fun.
Yeah.
And we love the Granada and their whole team.
Granada's the best. Yeah.
So we've been talking to Granada about coming out to shows, fairly regularly, like once or twice a month. So
we're going to do Deep Elm Art Company too. I'm sure they would let you do that.
That's a really good idea. Yeah. Because we were talking to them. We were like, honestly, any artist that has like a passionate fan base is
and
perfect.
They do. They have. Yeah. I mean, I haven't been shooting there as much, so I don't know. But personally, I mean, I shot shows last year. I was like, I don't know who these people are, and everybody else does.
Yeah.
Who was it? It was God. I can't think of his name now. They're all playing bigger venues this time around.
Oh yeah. I've talked about that with L'Oreal before. I'm like, it's so funny that there are artists that I've never heard of, but then they'll sell out a show and they have fans that are just so passionate. I'm like, I don't even know who this is.
It's like every week for me. There's a new, like AJR is a perfect example. I was like, AJR, okay, sure. Sounds interesting. And then like my friend's like, you're going to shoot it. Like this friend I haven't talked to in years calls me. He's like, I was just at the show last night. This is what you're going to get. I was like, cool. I mean, all the help I can get, but I was like, I've said this before. In college, I got bit by the Grateful Dead disease, and I literally never recovered from it. I mean, I do like other stuff, but like I every show I leave, I'm like, man, I wish it was Jerry Garcia. It's like every show. It's sort of ruined it for me. Well, Madison, this was great. I feel like this is the first of many interviews you're going to be doing because this is such a good idea and you're talented in so many ways. So I'm excited to see how this develops.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm hoping it just keeps snowballing and hopefully I'll have more to talk about soon.
We'll be looking out for it. And thanks for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to thank Madison Raney for joining me. You can check out all of her stuff on the links in the show notes. Thank you again to the Deep Elm Community Center for letting us record there. Theme song, Unstoppable by Salim Nuralla. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, follow, all the good stuff, and share it with your friends. We'll see you next time.